Well, we all know, of course, that Paramount and the Warner Brothers merger is steaming ahead. We're getting closer and closer to when it actually becomes reality. However, there are still several hurdles it needs to get over, including the overall federal hurdle, but nobody's expecting that to be a problem. The European Union still has to approve it, and they probably will. But the other big thing that's a little bit of a wrench in the works is the fact that individual state attorney generals may have the power to block it. And right now, the California Attorney General has said he's getting close to making a decision about whether or not they're going to move to take this to court and block the Paramount Warner Brothers merger. The facts at Reuters write the following. California Attorney General Rob Bonta, who we've talked about on this show before, will soon decide whether to sue to block the Paramount $110 billion acquisition of Warner Brothers. He told Reuters in an interview, adding that, in general, he views any corporate promises to address antitrust concerns as better when backed up by potential divestitures. He also goes on to say a little bit later in the article that, listen, as the California AG, it's my primary responsibility to protect and safeguard the jobs and the economy of California, and this could directly impact that. So it's not just the federal commissions that have to clear it. It's not just the Europeans. The individual states have the ability to step up and perhaps block it, but they've got to make a decision about whether or not they're going to do that. Now, how can they do this? What is the legal blueprint? What's the framework here that somebody like Bonta could step in and possibly block the Paramount merger? Well, there's a couple of key things here that we're going to go in and take a look at right now. We're going to start with this. Blocking Paramount options. Number one, there's federal authority. Now, as an attorney general of a state, state attorneys general have the power to take up issues in federal court as well. And there's something called Section 7 of the Clayton Act. Okay. The core argument is this. Section 7 of the Clayton Act prohibits mergers or acquisitions where the effect, quote unquote, may be substantially to lessen competition or to create a monopoly. And the standard of proof is not as high as you think. Bonta would not have to prove that a monopoly will happen. He only has to show that there is a reasonable probability that the merger will substantially harm competition in specific designed markets. And now here's the Hollywood twist, of course. This creates a monopsony, not a monopoly, a monopsony. And that's a monopsony is a little bit different, Rob, than a monopoly. A monopoly, basically, to put it into simple terms, is when there's very few people who can provide a service or provide a product. If there's only a couple of players left to provide a product and two of them are going to merge, that creates a monopoly. A monopsony is kind of the reverse. It's when you have a lot of service providers, but only one or two purchasers of that provision. So where this comes into play is this. There's all these writers, actors, directors. They have services to sell, right? They're acting services, they're writing services, they're production services, they're directing services. But a monopsony is when that's great that you have all these people providing services, but there's very few people to sell those services to. And the risk here is that by taking away another one of the major studios, there are now even fewer potential clients for actors, directors. And that gives unmeasured power to the studio saying, well, now, if you don't want to work for us for what we're offering you, who else are you going to work for, chump? There's only like 3 other players in town now. And so that's the monopsony is going to kind of be one of the underlying kind of things that he would have to go in there and do. Anyway, he goes on to say, in theory, he can argue that the merger creates a monopsony, a market with only a few buyers. Combining 2 of the historic Big 5 film studios into one would drastically reduce the number of employers competing for specialized talent, including actors, writers, directors, and few crew members, potentially leading to lower wages, fewer productions, and massive job losses. Because when you don't have as many options, people don't have to offer you as much. If there are 50 restaurants in town and they're all in desperate need of high quality, good wait staff, wages will go up. But if you're in a town with 500 waiters and only 2 restaurants, the restaurants can offer you whatever they want, and you don't really have much of a choice. So that's one of the arguments that the California AG could be bringing in here. So there's the federal level, but then there's the state authority. This is the second framework. We want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Pocket Hose. Guys, I'm excited to tell you about the world's #1 expanding garden hose and their brand new product, the Pocket Hose Ballistic. As you guys can imagine, I'm not exactly gentle with my gear. I drag hoses across concrete over the pool, yank them around corners. I even coil and uncoil them all the time to put them in my camper van when I go out on my movie meetups. And generally speaking, a lot of them don't last. But the Pocket Hose Ballistic has been a totally different story for me. It's incredibly durable, super lightweight, and just makes the whole job easier. One of my favorite things is how simple it is to use. You turn the water on, it expands. Turn it off, it shrinks right back down to pocket size. And it's reinforced with a liquid crystal polymer, the same kind of material used in bulletproof vests. Plus, it comes with the pocket pivot, which gives you 360-degree rotation at the spigot so it moves with you instead of fighting against you. And now, for a limited time, when you purchase a new Pocket Hose Ballistic, you'll get a free 360-degree rotating pocket pivot and a free thumb drive nozzle. Just text Campea to 64,000. That's CAMPEA to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. Text Campea to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. And it's under something called the Cartwright Act. California has its own version of federal antitrust law known as the Cartwright Act, the California Business and Professions Code. By the way, this little symbol here, you'll see this a lot in law. All that means is section. Just, you see that symbol, just section. So it's in section 16720. It's got broader protections than the federal laws do, okay? The Cartwright Act is often interpreted by California courts as being even broader and more protective of competition than the federal Sherman or the aforementioned Clayton Acts. Combinations in restraint of trade. Bonta can argue that the merger constitutes an unlawful combination to restrict trade, limit production, or manipulate the market for content creation and distribution within the borders of California. So he doesn't even have to argue on a federal level. All he would really have to do is under this provision is prove in a California court that, hey, this is going to limit trade, it's going to be unfair to laborers, and it's going to limit the market. And if he can do that, well, then he can block this deal. He can absolutely block this deal. Now, this leads to something that gives him an awful lot of potential power here. And it's something called, as I get this in here, the Unfair Competition Law. Now, California's Business and Professions Code, section 17200, the UCL, the Unfair Competition Law, the UCL, prohibits any unlawful or unfair fraudulent business act or process or practice. Basically saying, if Bonta can show that anything under that federal level in the Clayton Act or anything on the state level in the Cartwright Act, if any of those are shown to be problematic, then under the UCL, those become not just problems, they become unlawful. Any violation of the Clayton or Cartwright Acts automatically constitutes an unlawful act under the UCL. Bonta can leverage the UCL to seek sweeping injunctive relief to halt the transaction entirely or force massive structural changes to protect California consumers and workers. Now, I'll cut short there. I had a few more points in there, but basically is to say this. Bonta would then have the authority or the power to do one of two things. Either one, kill the deal altogether, or number two, force Paramount and Warner Brothers to create structural changes such as divesting certain things. For example, they could say, okay, Paramount and Warner Brothers, you can do this deal, but you got to divest HBO Max. You got to section out HBO Max, set it out, let somebody come along and buy HBO Max and let it be its own thing. Oh, and you have to divest out. What's Paramount Pictures indie shingle again? It's Paramount. It's not called Paramount Indie. It's called Paramount.
I don't know. Is that who made Primate? Did they make Primate under that label?
Probably, but they've got an indie banner. I can't remember what specifically it's called. But under this, Bonta could say, okay, you can go ahead and do the merger, but you got to divest of HBO Max, and you've got to divest of this indie studio, and you got to divest of this. So he could force them to take a bunch of valuable pieces in the deal and spin them out to mitigate the damage being done, right? So the question becomes, if all these options are there, why wouldn't the California Attorney General go ahead and try to block it? Why is it still saying in the headline that right now he's only still considering trying to block it? Well, there's two very important reasons why he may not decide to try to block this. And that's this. Why would they not pursue this? Number one is expense. Okay. The cost to litigate this, like if the California AG decided to sue Paramount to stop the merger, it would probably be in the $20 million minimum range or more, or much more. And all that comes from taxpayer money. It all comes from taxpayer money. So spending like upwards of $20 or more million, you got to ask yourself, is this worth it? Is this worth it? Now, a lot of people would say yes, but right now he's in the middle of evaluating whether or not he thinks the $20, $30, $40 million price tag that California taxpayers would have to pay for would ultimately benefit California more than the $20 or $30 or $40 million that they would have to spend. But the second thing is this, and this is the most important one. The California AG has to determine if they have a reasonable expectation of success. Due to the time, manpower, and monetary cost to litigate, the California Attorney General must feel strongly that he's got a real chance to win the case. If there's any serious doubt, that risks wasting a large amount of taxpayer money. So the two reasons why they haven't just automatically launched a challenge to this is, number one, it's hell of expensive. It's really damn expensive. And in a political environment where everybody's hurting for money, you've got to have a pretty strong damn justification to spend 20, 30, 40 million dollars of taxpayer money. But even if you can do that, number two, you have to do a lot of research and really study and truly believe we're going to win this case if we do it. Because if you do this and spend $30 million of taxpayer money and you lose, that's money you just wasted. That's just gone. So right now, Rob, the AG for California has to determine, one, does it justify the expense? By the way, one strategy he can employ, Rob, is he can partner with another AG from another state. Multiple attorneys generals can come together from different states.
This is fascinating. I didn't know any of this.
They can do that. They can come together and jointly file a petition to stop the merger, and then they can share the expense of it. So that's one option he has. So number one, he's got to decide if it's worth the cost, and can he get other states' AGs to come on board and partner with him in going after this merger. And then number two, if they do it, understanding the law and understanding whatever arguments Paramount may bring to the table, do they have a more than reasonable chance of success? Because if you say no to either of those two questions, no, it's not really worth the money, or no, we don't really have a better than 50% chance or a better of 70% chance of winning. Because Rob, I don't think he's looking for a better than 50% chance. I think he's looking for a better than 70 or 75% chance that they're going to win if they're going to dedicate this much time and this much money to it. So that's why they haven't done it yet. So look, Rob, I've said this for a long time. At the end of the day, I do believe this merger is going to go through.
Yep.
But It really does. If the California AG and then say one or two more AGs partner up with them and they do launch a full-scale assault on blocking this merger, that will only happen if they really believe they have a chance to win. So this may not be over yet. Anyway, Rob, you see this whole drama playing out. What's your takeaway from all this?
Well, I've certainly got an education. Thanks for that. I mean, I didn't know all of this. I think, like you, we will probably see this merger go through. I mean, to be honest, I would rather see it not go through. I mean, I think less competition is always bad for business, but there are powerful forces at work here. But it's going to be interesting to see how much real legal opposition is going to be thrown at this merger.
Right.
And I guess we'll see it unfold as the days progress. But I will say this, John, after what you've just described, it's more fascinating to me now to watch this from afar. And because I didn't know any of that you just told us about.
Now, what a lot of people will bring up, and they're right to do so, because this does prove to be a bit of a sticking point. It's like, well, listen, they just recently let the Fox and Disney merger go through, right? Therefore, precedent is law. You know, if that went through, you're going to have to show how this is wildly different from that, because that went through, right? Well, there is a little hiccup in that theory too, though, in that, yes, Fox and Disney merged, which made the amount of competition even smaller. Now you're proposing another merger, and the impact of this merger would, in theory, be greater than the Disney-Fox one, because now the number of players would be even smaller. So it's going to be interesting to see whether these guys think they can convince a judge of the case or not, because it's going to cost a hell of a lot of money. And Rob, if there's one thing that the other side has, it's a lot of money. They have Oracle money. They have Warner Brothers money.
Mm-hmm.
They have Paramount money. They have all the Middle Eastern money. They're already going to be at like however many hundreds of billions of dollars in debt, but they'll spend a lot to fight this. So it's going to be interesting to see how it turns out. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about all this? The California Attorney General is saying he is now in the final stages of determining whether or not they're going to launch to block this Paramount and Warner Brothers deal. But there are some very precarious dangers in doing that they have to be careful of. How much money are they willing to spend to block it? And do they really think they can win? These are big questions they got to answer. Whatever you guys think is going to come out of this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget, we have a daily podcast called the John Campea Show Podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcasting app of choice. Go and subscribe to it today so it'll be there when you need it.